welcome everyone. Welcome to NISGIC's GeoWomen virtual roundtable. We are very excited to have our special guest speaker on the line with us today, Rachel Clark. But let's just go ahead and get started. And Emily, you are recording, so I think we are good to go. My name is Erin Fashway. I'm the state's GIS coordinator for the state of Montana, and I'm one of the co-chairs for GeoWomen. I will be introducing the rest of my co-chairs in just a few. So today we are going to be doing a little bit of a welcome. We're going to dive into Rachel's presentation and learn more about how she utilizes AI in everything from normal day life to work. And then we're going to have a bit of a Q&A session afterwards. Actually, I think we're going to go ahead and ask questions, and Megan Compton and Rachel will set that up for you. She said she doesn't mind answering questions along the way and making this interactive. We will then go into some breakout rooms for further discussion, have some questions created for you, and each one of the GeoWomen co-chairs will lead those. And so we highly encourage everyone to stay on and join us in those breakout rooms. You really get to know folks there. And then secondly, after that, we're going to dissect those breakout room discussions and then have a quick wrap up. So what is GeoWomen? So GeoWomen is a working group of NISGIC, which is the National States Geographic Information Council. And NISGIC, exists to advance effective state-led geospatial coordination for the nation. We serve as a national forum to develop future-oriented geospatial leadership and advance sound policies and practices for geospatial activities. And then through the mission of NISGIC GeoWomen, we focus on education and connection and advocacy to support more women in geospatial leadership. So we like to welcome, and our community is open to everyone. So I would be remiss if I did not attempt to create an image for today using AI in my personal ChatGPT. And so I just thought, it is Geo Week, Geography Awareness Week. We've got GIS Day here in a few days, and it's just all on par for what we're trying to accomplish in our profession. And so the first few rounds of this AI image was just horrible. I finally got to this, but I just think it's funny to try to create images in a free software. And the first ones, like I said, failed miserably. So I hope to learn more from Rachel today on this. And then here are our co-chairs. So co-chairs, I do believe all of your beautiful faces are shining through the video this morning. But if you don't, please turn on your cameras so everyone can see you. We've got Kate Hickey from Sanborn, Karen Rogers from the Wyoming Bureau of Land Management, Shay Lamar from Arizona, Megan Compton from the Federal Geographic Data Committee, Angela Witcher from New Jersey, and Jenna Levier from Sanborn. Of course, my name is Erin Fashway, and I am from Montana. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about other ways you can get involved with the GeoWomen community. Like I said before, it is open to anyone who is interested. So women seeking geospatial leadership or connection, and then also any advocate who wants to support the GeoWomen mission. We have virtual roundtables. Those are typically hosted in between our in-person events. Those are online. And then our in-person events take place at our annual conference. We just had one this past September in Nashville. And then our mid-year meetings. And our mid-year meeting will take place in Annapolis? No, Virginia. Someone fill it in here. Put it in the chat. Arlington, thank you. This coming February. Next year's annual conference will be in Bozeman, Montana, and I hope to see you all there. Join me in my home state. And then we also have monthly stand-ups online, and they are the first Friday of every month. So without further ado, Megan, I'm going to have you introduce Rachel.
Thank you very much, Erin. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you today. And I am very excited to introduce and invite our friend my friend and former colleague, Rachel Clark, to join us today and talk with us about her extensive experience with AI. Um, I, I have been, I've known Rachel now for a little, about 6 years, I think. And we met first through both of us were working for the state of Indiana. Rachel was the CIO, the Chief
Mhm.
Information Officer for the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. And she had extensive experience before that. And when I first met her through a couple of other colleagues, we got together and started a group called Government Women in Technology. And the entire purpose of that was to bring together women working in state government that have a technology responsibility and are utilizing anything within the IT space. And it was through that I learned a lot through about how to continue to support women in this field. So it's very similar to what we do with GeoWomen. GeoWomen in leadership through the geospatial world, and it sistered up very nicely with the technology world at the state of Indiana. Neither Rachel nor I are at are working for the state anymore. And I think that is actually an interesting byproduct of how much networking and how much growth and how much opportunity we were able to support within GWIT and really helping each other rise up and move on to new opportunities. So I've always respected Rachel for her willingness to step in, provide support, and also make things a lot less intimidating. A couple of years ago, when I was not at all understanding what ChatGPT was, and it was a very scary thing. Rachel gave a presentation to many of us within GWIT and kind of pulled back the curtain a little bit and made it seem like we could actually understand what was happening with AI, and it made it a lot less intimidating. So that's one of her superpowers, is to take complicated things and make people understand them, and it kind of it makes you able to really just absorb it in your own way. And I think she's going to do that here for us today. So you can read her bio right here. She's actually had taken on a new opportunity now, but continuing to lead through statewide IT projects, particularly in human resources, also in transportation and Bureau of Motor Vehicles, Department of Motor Vehicles. She's continuing to apply her skills as a consultant to help governments make smart choices with our IT projects. And I think all of us know that that is a really good thing. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rachel to talk with us about her superpower and her use of AI. Rachel, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that really awesome intro. And I think we're going to toggle the sharing, and I should be able to share my screen. You guys see my deck now? Does it look good?
Yes,
Yep,
looks
looks
great.
good.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. So thank you. I appreciate that intro, Megan. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm hoping that today, with this presentation I have planned, that we can make it interactive and that you all feel comfortable interrupting me. Megan and I talked beforehand, and she said, "Oh, this is a fun group. They'll talk, they'll participate. This is a good group." So Megan's going to help me by watching in the chat. If you raise your hand or something and I miss it, she will not hesitate to interrupt me. But truly, if you've got a question in the moment, I would love to hear it. So before we get rolling, I do want to take a second, and I just want to acknowledge all the public servants on this call. I want to thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for hanging through the shutdown and the furlough, those of you that were affected. I'm really glad that that's over and that we're back in motion. And I want to be a little transparent with you too, about this presentation and how it came to be. When the shutdown stretched on and on, I assumed that we maybe weren't going to have this call. Megan had asked me to do this months and months ago. And when the shutdown just kind of kept going, I was finding that conferences were being canceled, that meetings were being dropped off my calendar. And I made an assumption that we probably were not going to hold this meeting. So when Megan reached out to me last week and said, "Hey, are you ready for the roundtable?" My first thought was, No, not even close. I had not spent the time preparing that I should have. I didn't use the time. And so, what the first thing I did was I took that presentation that Megan mentioned earlier on the call, and I pulled it and I uploaded it to ChatGPT. And then I spent the next week arguing with AI about how to modernize my original AI presentation. So that is a very 2025 sentence to say, but that is where we are. And that is the reality of what I did here with this presentation. And I'm really happy with how it came out, and just kind of comparing and contrasting where we were when I was originally delivering some of this content versus where we are now was a really interesting exercise. So the first thing I want to share is this is a quote from my speaker notes when I originally gave this presentation. And when I went back and looked, and this would have been, it was 2 years ago, it was early 2023, I believe, Megan. It was pretty early on. I mean, I was off the charts optimistic, wildly optimistic about everything. That whole deck was just brewing with optimism and just energy, and I was trying to get everybody excited about the potential, and it was borderline evangelistic about it all. I don't know if you remember that presentation being that way, but when I went back and looked at it today, I was like, oh my, that is not my headspace today. That is not where I am today. Um, I'm in a much different place than I was just 2 years ago. Now, I use AI every day. I read about AI constantly. I'm still awestruck by it, but I spend a lot of time feeling overwhelmed. That's definitely a word that I would use to describe how I feel right now. Mildly suspicious, exhausted. The pace of change feels almost ridiculous. The pressure to stay current and to stay up, oppressive. So this is not the same headspace that I was in 2 years ago. And don't get me wrong, I still feel good about it. I still am excited to be working with it, but I am looking at it with a very different lens than I did 2 years ago, slightly more jaded, maybe much more realistic. So that was a fun exercise to go to. So maybe a better presentation name for this whole thing now would be AI in 2025, still transformative, but I have some notes. I have some thoughts here. So let's get into it. This is kind of what I have planned. I'll keep an eye on the time here. Really just three things: the past, the present, and a look at the future. What next? I'll start with a quick look back, just enough to go through some of the history and context and remind us how dramatically the landscape in AI has changed in a few short years. And then we'll talk about some very real world examples, some of the good stuff, the impressive stuff, the like shocking stuff. And then finally, we'll wrap up with implications and issues, the fun stuff, ethics, risk, government, environmental side effects, all the things that kind of keep responsible people up at night. We'll go there too. Anytime you see this light bulb on a slide, that's kind of like my shorthand for a mental note to remember that I want to pause there and ask specifically if anybody has any thoughts or feedback or examples to share. So when you see that, that's what I'm trying to do there, because I think it might be a good place to pause. So before we dig in, let's talk for just a quick second about my AI qualifications, because Megan built me up there at the beginning and I appreciate it, but I want to kind of like lay it out. This is my original slide from 2 years ago. And yes, I would say I'm still a technology enthusiast who automates my home like I'm auditioning for a Disney movie. I'm a fanatic about it. I'm still productivity obsessed. I'm constantly looking for ways or tools that will save me 17 seconds of my day. And I will spend an extraordinary amount of time on saving myself 17 seconds in my day. I listen to tons of AI podcasts. I've listed some of my favorites here. Hard Forks probably be my very favorite. If anybody has AI or technology adjacent podcasts that they love, I love it if you drop it in the chat, because I'm always looking for new cool stuff. But here's what's different 2 years later than where I was 2 years ago. Today, I work with a consulting company where I lead a small software development team that is actively building an AI tool. And we're working with state agencies to pilot AI in a private cloud so that they can feel more comfortable testing and doing some things in a private cloud with us helping them along the way. We're fine tuning outputs, we're chasing hallucinations, we're poking at bias. We're generally just like tuning the questions and trying to see if we can make this thing behave in the public sector environment. And I would say we haven't answered that yet. We're still, some days it does, some days it doesn't. And we're doing a lot of pilots with a couple different states just to play around and see what that looks like. So that's new in the last 2 years. Also, originally, when I gave this deck in 2023, it was when I was CIO at the BMV. And at the time, I volunteered to serve on the statewide AI Governance Council in Indiana, which was kind of like a high intensity sport about guardrails, policies, and procedures. It was necessary, but it was not fun. It was all about blocking, tackling, understanding, guidance, guardrails. It was really important. I volunteered to be on it, but it wasn't what I call fun. And so for that reason, I also started in Indiana an AI guild at our agency. It was a biweekly meeting where anyone could join. And we just talked freely about what was going on. And we didn't have any fear of triggering a legal review. It was just conversation. Ironically, our chief general counsel was one of the first people to join. And it was a great creative outlet where I'm glad I had that for the time to balance all the governance conversations I was having on the statewide AI council. So that's what I'm here today to do, to bring that like part AI enthusiast and builder, part government realist, and part former CIO dreamer kind of person. That's kind of where I am. So here's where I want to kind of start. This is that, let's take a look back. AI is not new. It did not magically appear when ChatGPT came on the scene in November of 2022. It kind of feels that way, but it didn't. We've been toying around with AI for almost 17 years. Back in 1956, there was a conference at Dartmouth. It was an AI conference where they got around. They talked about, do you think we can make machines think like humans? It was not on my radar back then, and I'm kind of differentiating with the color coding on this chart of when I really started paying attention. In 1997, there was like this big pivotal moment where a machine beat Gary Kasparov. I might be getting that name wrong, but he was a big chess grandmaster, and the machine beat him, and that was kind of a really big deal. People kind of freaked out about that at the time. And then here's where I started paying attention and becoming a bit obsessed was, around mid 2014, 2015, when Amazon Alexa and all these other things started. Oh, she just woke up. Of course, she's near me. We will not speak her name going forward. We'll have to, I didn't plan for that. Okay. So she showed up. I started automating my whole house. I mean, when you say her name, good night in my house, bedroom TV turns off. The garage doors that I'm notorious for leaving open, they automatically shut. Our noisemaker turns on. All the lights in the house that I might have left on somewhere else turn off. The thermostat goes down. The front and back doors automatically lock. My alarm system alarms. All these things happen. And I spent the better part of 10 years doing all this stuff, if I'm being honest. Of course, Alexa, good morning. A lot of the reverse happens, a lot of automations. At one point, I had a Google Home AI device sitting right next to my ALEXA device. And because of the open source version of the Google device, I could do more with that one than I could do with the other one. And so my ALEXA device would say, okay, Google, to wake up the Google device and then give it the command to arm the alarm system. So I had my AI talking to my other AI. And that actually did not seem weird to me at all. That was totally normal. It just was. The point where I started to rethink some of my choices was one day when my husband had a friend over and they were watching football. And the friend turns to my husband, I was in the other room, and he's like, your wife has like automated all that stuff. It's kind of cool. So of course I started eavesdropping, listening a little closer. And my husband says, it's kind of not really that cool because I actually never know what devices are smart because she's constantly changing it or adding things to it. And if I turn a light on the old fashioned way, she gets really mad and it breaks all her routines. So mostly I just sit around in the dark. And that is the moment where I realized that I might have a problem. But it just kind of goes to show like how far you can go with these things and how much you can go down this loop. Okay, so I digress. We're going to keep going here back with the timeline. And we're going to look at what happened in 2018. That was kind of a pivotal moment in healthcare where they started using AI to diagnose diseases. It may or may not have broken through in your radar, but it was kind of a big thing in that space. Medicine was excited. People that were affected were cautiously optimistic. Then in 2021, another significant thing that happened is Tesla said, well, what's a good idea? Let's put AI in charge of 4,000-pound vehicles. What could possibly go wrong there? And they started testing all this automation and autonomous vehicles. And then, of course, the big one, and this is the thing that I think blew everyone's mind, ChatGPT launched in November of 2022, and the entire planet lost its minds, myself included. Everybody tried it. Your grandma tried it. And within weeks, it became the fastest growing consumer app in history, faster than TikTok, faster than Instagram, faster than anything that had ever come before. And suddenly everyone was an AI expert or trying to be. In the meantime, AI was hallucinating left and right. That's 2022. So let me just talk for a second about what's happened in the 3 years since. Since then, it's gone from this like natural evolution over 50 years to, oh my gosh, somebody stop because I'm getting nauseous at the pace of what is changing and how quickly things are changing. So this is some of the things I would say that characterize the last 3 years that I've noticed. 2023, after that 2022 launch of ChatGPT, 2023 was really the year that ChatGPT became everyone's problem. OpenAI released GPT-4. It could then analyze images. It could access the internet through plugins. It enabled longer conversations. And with it came a lot of higher expectations. So it could help you, book your trip to Denver, summarize meetings, explain a meme. All these things started happening. And everybody started paying attention, including big tech. In 2024, everybody else woke up and said, oh no, we're behind. And then they just released 47 versions of their product in a row, trying to catch up. Microsoft launched, or Google launched Google Bard, then Google Gemini, then Gemini Ultra, and then Gemini Ultra, but this time we mean it. They were basically just trying to catch up with everything ChatGPT had done. Microsoft launched integrated GPT into Bing. It was just chaos. It was chaos, hype and chaos. And every product had the label AI powered on it. It meant nothing. Half the time it meant nothing. But every product had to have it on the product to sell. Crazy, still crazy. 2025, I think I would summarize where we are now as kind of the year of like, wait a minute, should we slow down? What is really happening here? I feel like I'm seeing regulatory energy skyrocketing. AI agents can now do things on behalf of the user. That last bullet perfectly summarizes how I feel. Still amazed, somewhat exhausted and confused at the same time. Maybe we should. Across the government, I'm seeing people ask a lot of questions like, how do we use it responsibly? How do we govern it responsibly? How do we keep our data safe? And who do I blame if my AI agent starts booking meetings without asking me? Like who's really in charge here? I did notice on this call, we've got an AI agent on the call. Fireflies is here. That's an AI agent. I don't know if the person who owns it is here or they just sent their Firefly agent to record the call and send them the notes afterwards. Because sometimes that's what you do. You don't go to the meetings. You just get your AI agent to go to the meetings. So the pace didn't just pick up. It actually exploded in about 18 months. So to really understand where we've come from and where we might be headed, we have a lot of data that we can use to understand AI in 2025. In my original presentation, we were trotting out like LSAT stats and things like how smart is it? Can it pass the bar exam? We don't really do that anymore. There's a site called artificialanalysis.ai that I recommend, which is like the consumer reports of AI models. And they do a ton of really good, well-researched, thorough uh, graphs and things to help you understand where AI is today. And they measure it not by can it pass the bar exam, they all can. They measure it by multi-step reasoning, reliability, tool use, planning, and how well does each model stay grounded when the questions get messy. I really like the site. I've been using it a lot to sort of benchmark where different things are. Okay, this is something I have to talk about, and we're going to come back to this later. Um, the last time I met with that AI guild and the Indiana BMV, which would have been a year ago, right about now, right around November of 2024 is the last time I met with the guild. And I remember sending out a question in advance saying, okay, everybody, I keep hearing about all this hubbub about AGI. We've been talking about AI. People are really freaked out about AGI. What's the difference between AI and AGI? And at the time, I remember in that meeting, we really struggled to answer it. We all kind of went and did our homework and came to the guild meeting and tried to answer it, and we really couldn't answer it very well. Um, and I look back now and I think, well, a year later, we've come a long way. We have better common language to explain what AGI is and how it differs. And this is a slide I put together to try to explain it. Artificial narrow intelligence, I've seen some people calling it ANI. Sometimes they call it frontier models, but ANI is kind of what we have now. It's AI that performs a specific task without the ability to go further. It's very specific. It's like an AI that's really good at chess or an AI that's really good at writing poems. Um, it's very specific, but you ask it to go understand human context like a human, it can't do that. It's powerful, but it's narrow. And that's where most AI is living today. That's what you're seeing in your agents and your co-pilots, all the good stuff that's happening right now. It's this ANI where it starts to get really interesting, and this is how I would define artificial general intelligence. That's the AI that can do everything. It doesn't just pass one test, it passes all the tests across all domains, across all context, across all modalities. It can learn, it can reason, it can plan, it can adapt, it can troubleshoot, it can understand nuance, it can make connections, it can do all kinds of things. And I think the reason people are a bit concerned about it is because it's predicted to be available, if not the late 2020s, then the early 2030s, which feels like it'll be tomorrow afternoon, the way things have been moving and going. For government, that might mean AGI systems that could help draft legislation, interpret decades of regulatory code, design new transportation models, rewrite procurement policies, predict the impact of zoning decisions using geodata. Who knows where it could go? And it's not that far off. That's why there's a lot of talk about AGI, and that's how AGI differs from where we are today. Now, in that last category, I'm going to throw this out here. This is like artificial super intelligence. This is like the Terminator stuff. This is like there's a new species. It's a category where the AGI has surpassed us humans on every dimension: creativity, analytics, strategy, social reasoning. It's past us. It's past us. And that's why people like Sam Altman and basically anybody who's touched a neural network and knows a lot about these things is occasionally waking up in cold sweats, worried about where this is headed, because they can see the progression and they realize that that is a possibility in the 2040s timeline. And that kind of power needs to be regulated. It needs guardrails. It needs, we need, we're in public service. We need to think about how to protect citizens and protect our workforce. So that's where you kind of I sort of box it into those three categories and try to understand it that way. So then I think the reason people are freaked out is, again, this is from that artificialanalysis.ai site that I use and trust. And this just shows the pace of change since November 2022, when ChatGPT hit the scene. They've been indexing based on these things at the top, how quickly it is advancing, and it's just astronomical. It's learning and it's getting so much better and doing so much more so faster. That's why these projections are looking at 2030, 2040 as a real possibility. And in the meantime, government moves slow. We move slow to govern. And that's where I think some of the conflict really lives. So before we get too nervous, I want to talk about a couple of my favorite use cases that you may or may not have seen recently. This is very recent in the news. There was a story about a family who had like $200,000 of hospital debt, and they used Claude to dissect their bills and identify duplicate charges, improper coding, and then dispute the charges, and they brought it down to like $33,000. So that's amazing to me. It's driving fairness. It's giving ordinary people tools they didn't have before. It kind of makes you think, like, where can you extrapolate? Where can this go in terms of government? Can AI help you audit your tax return yourself? How else can it help us with public service billing oversight? What could it do there? I love that example. In Indiana, Megan, you might remember this, DWD was one of the first agencies to roll out an AI recommendation engine for unemployment. So claimants could use this AI engine to get better job matches. And they claim that they have the data to support that people that got jobs using that tool earned $4 or more an hour than if they just searched on their own. So again, that's so cool. We're using it to improve lives, not just automate tasks. We're using it to improve lives, which is the stuff I know in public service we all get really excited about. I used it personally. I've been using bots or agents a lot. I've been spending time building bots. And one bot that I built was I used Indiana policy and procurement law, everything that was publicly available, to automate contract review. So I could, look for non-compliance risks, sift through contracts and things faster. I was using it to really be an Indiana specific or an informed agent to help me really with my contract review kind of things. This is personal. This is weird, but personal. Now that I'm on the other side and I'm consulting on behalf of a lot of different states, Delaware, South Carolina. And what I was finding is that I have to follow each state's rules for engaging. I have to use Zoom over here or Teams over here or Zoom's in another account over here. And I was not able to keep track of which Rachel am I? Am I Rachel in Delaware? Or am I Rachel in South Carolina on this Zoom call? And so what I did was I took my headshot, my real headshot, I ran it through AI. It first tried to take 20 pounds off my person. I was like, that's not what I'm going for here. Thank you, but that's not what I want. Leave my face alone, just change the color of my shirt. And that was a very simple visual thing that I did on my Zoom profile. And yes, that is the site that Maya, the site that I was talking about. Yes, that's it. I used this AI coloring to be able to keep track of who I was. It was just a really simple thing, but it made a big difference in making sure I was using the right Zoom login to get into all of my calls. Okay, this is another really weird one. When I bought myself a congratulations to me gift of an espresso machine. And if you've ever used an espresso machine, like there's like this whole process of all these dials and things you have to change to get the perfect cup of espresso. And maybe in the old world, you would have read the manual. Nobody's got time for that. And maybe, a few years ago, you would have looked at some YouTube videos. What I did was I would record myself making my shots and then send it to ChatGPT and say, critique the shot. So it would watch everything about my technique, how, the weight, the measure, the pour, the output, everything. I didn't have to say anything. I just took a picture of the prep and everything and it critiqued it. That was super cool. and I can make a heck of a cup of coffee at this point. Another fun one, I'll mention this one. This is more credit to my son. I'm constantly learning from my kids. My son is a senior in high school and he's looking at colleges, and that is an overwhelming, exhausting, just very taxing process. And he created a custom AI bot that he is using to help him understand the world of college applications. And my husband and I saw it and we were like, this is really smart. We helped train it too, and we used it to help with our FAFSA applications and our CSS applications. These are really complicated financial transactions and things that, instead of asking our accountant, we relied on this bot. We did verify things with our accountants. I do verify, but it really gave a lot of value both to my son and to us, and is still providing value as we go through this college application process. So I have the light bulb on this slide because I just kind of wanted to force myself to pause and say, here's some other ideas of stuff where things are happening. Are there any examples or use cases anybody wants to share?
Susan's putting a couple of things in the chat. I don't know if you want to come off mute, Susan.
Sure. I used it quite a while ago to take a whole bunch of bank statements for which I inherited somebody's bank account and took all the PDFs, hundreds of them, and automated the process of extracting all the information off of them. I double checked them all, but so it didn't really save me time, but needed to do that. I also used it to build a lawsuit, and I didn't know anything about what I was walking into, and it taught me so much and taught me enough to make me ask all the pertinent questions. And then I started kind of building my own case, even though I was working with a lawyer. I started building my own case, and in every single instance where ChatGPT recommended something that my lawyer hadn't thought of, I brought it to my lawyer, and in every single case, the lawyer was like, no, that's crazy, that's crazy. And then the next day it would contact me and go, okay, well, upon further thought, I I agree with this in every single.
Wow.
So if I had not been using chat, I literally wouldn't have been able to kind of win this case, which is getting me not a lot of money, but a little bit of money. And so, I mean, it's just been amazing to me. And then my last example was I just had an HVAC problem at my house and got an estimate from somebody, and I know nothing about HVACs, zero, nor do I really care. But I was alarmed at the price, and so I started running things through chat. And I call her she because she's helpful, and obviously she must be female. So she wrote back to me and gave me ideas for how to combat the estimate, and I got $2,000 knocked off. So
That's
yeah,
real money. That's real money.
that's real money.
So exciting. I love these stories. I love it.
Erin?
Yeah, I have an example. So recently, I went on a trip to visit our family in Detroit, and I have a 4-year-old. Well, at the time, 4-year-old and 10-year-old, and then also I have we were trying to do an outing with in-laws that were 80 plus and not really couldn't really get around. And so I built some travel plans, and actually they were quite good on what to do with a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old in Detroit in the summer. So it worked out well.
So cool. Anybody else?
All right.
I want to
Karen?
share a GIS one. I recently went on travel to Greece, and um, I'm a real visual person, and so when I was picking places to stay, I was using Airbnb, and I was picking places to stay based entirely on the photos. And so I picked probably 50 places that had cool looking, patios and things like that. And I took a picture of the map on ChatGPT, or on, sorry, with ChatGPT, I took a picture of the Airbnb map and said, tell me about the neighborhoods that I've randomly selected, because I just picked based on pictures. And it came back and said, oh, you've picked in these 3 general locations. And then I said, tell me about those locations. And, I asked it about like crime levels and access to public transportation and access to sites. And I can't validate that everything it told me was true because I don't know those communities at all. But boy, was that amazing to me. And that was geospatial analytics, right? And is based on something. I hope it's based on good data, but who knows?
Kind of the risk you take these days. And I
Yeah.
think that for me, some of the disillusionment that I feel, I went back and I looked through my chat history and I searched for the phrase, are you sure? Because I kept doing that. I kept saying like, are you sure? And then it would say, oh, you're right. I missed this.
Yeah.
And I was doing it so much that I was like, it's just a balance. And I think that has led to some of my skepticism is when I'm an expert in something, I can spot the are you sure moments and I can call it out on it. But what about when I can't spot it or when I'm not the expert, and how much should I rely on it? So that's a good transition. I will do to
Rachel,
the next.
Karen has her hand up real quick.
Oh, Karen. Oh, go ahead, Karen. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. So my example is a work-related use case. And so I was briefly involved in the FOIA world, and I took an AI class in the spring. And one of the canned prompts was, review a text for redactions. And it was like, oh, that's what FOIA is all about. And so we've, thanks to an actual developer, we have developed a tool that reads responsive documents and spits out into a spreadsheet the responsive text, the correlating exemption or exclusion, what page number it's on, and the things that you would need as a FOIA processor to send to your solicitor for them to review and sign off on those redactions and then apply the redactions. And so it's to me a very good use case of AI, because who wants to read thousands of pages of FOIA?
Right. Okay, fun. Well, the last example oh no, we have one more.
Yeah, one more hand up.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Sulma, and I'm actually in Maryland. I work in Montgomery County government, and one of the most recent uses of AI for me that I found super helpful was using Copilot to actually help me develop R code to help with navigating lots of data at once. So before, trying to learn R myself was extremely difficult and tedious, and now I've been able to tell Copilot to give me an R code for exactly what I want the data to look like on the output end. And it's been extremely efficient and helpful to navigate.
I do. I love that use case too. Anytime I can use it to help with software development, it's especially good at that. I think that's one where it's especially good. I would agree with you on that one. Well, this next one I wanted to share with you guys, if there are no more questions, and we'll open it up. We have more time at the end. If you think of more, hold on to them, because I love hearing these things. This is one of the coolest use cases I've personally experienced, and it really combined both my state industry experience with the DMV with just some personal stuff, and that is when I was in Phoenix. There are 5 markets that I know of in the US where they're testing these automated Waymo autonomous vehicles. And I rode one in Phoenix. Can we do like a show of hands or some way of like showing? I'd love to know how many people on the call have done this, have taken a ride in an autonomous vehicle. It absolutely, okay, a bunch. Looks like a bunch. That's more, this was just like a month or so ago for me. And what really blew my mind probably was I was in Phoenix. I saw the cars at the airport. I stood and I watched. It was like 11 o'clock at night when I got in. I still stood there watching the Waymos for a long time, watched them jockeying for position. It was very obvious that the Uber drivers didn't like the Waymos, and they were all, it was just crazy. But I didn't want to take it by myself. I was scared to take it by myself. So I waited until a work colleague would go with me. We took a Waymo together. It absolutely blew my mind. I liked that I didn't have to talk to anybody if I didn't want to. When I was booking my Ubers, I've noticed it's sometimes hard to pinpoint or find your Uber, and now they charge you like a fee if you're late, even if it's like a minute, and they're there and you're there, but you don't see each other, you get charged fees. Well, finding the car with Waymo, the tech is just far better. So there were all these little subtle things that I liked about taking it. I don't have to tip, I don't have to talk to anybody. I loved it. And then I happened to be in Phoenix for the American Automotive Motor Vehicles Association conference. It's where every DMV in the country gets together and they talk about regulation and everything happening in the regulatory space. And the keynote speaker got up and made this big, bold prediction that autonomous vehicles will be mainstream by the 2030s. And that matches some of the data that I shared with you earlier, where I was talking about kind of where this is all going and when it's going to go there. And he was literally blowing the minds of everyone in the room that autonomous vehicles would be kind of ubiquitous or be everywhere by the 2030s. And when I thought about it, my husband and I both have cars. My son is a senior in high school, is getting ready to go to college. He has a car. My 15-year-old is starting to take her driver's permit, and she thinks she's entitled to a car too when her big brother goes off to college. If that happens, that will be 4 cars in my family that we are paying for insurance, maintenance, car payments, all the things. So if there was a day when I could call an autonomous vehicle from my driveway in suburbia, Indiana, and I could open my Waymo app and I didn't have to I could cancel all the insurance, cancel all the maintenance, cancel all the car payments, and turn my garage into a craft room. I would do it. I would 100% do it. And I'm curious, like, just again, show of hands, if other people would feel the same way, would give up their cars if they could hail a Waymo within 5 minutes to their driveway. Looks like some people are thinking the same thing. I think for me, it's just the 4 cars. Are we serious? 4 cars. Just, I would get rid of it in a heartbeat. Okay, so I gotta shift gears here. That's like I'm halfway through, Megan. So you need to guide me on like timing where we go next, because I'm about halfway through the slides here. And
We
this
might
is
want to pick it up a little bit, Rachel.
Yeah,
We have about
10 minutes.
10
Okay.
minutes. Yep.
So that was all the cool, exciting, the art of the possible, all the fun stuff. And this is where I kind of wanted to flip through quickly and talk about the governance, the environmental costs, the stuff that really kind of goes with it. And I'll flip through this very quickly because I think I want to get to the public sector stuff at the end. The technology is moving at warp speed and the laws are moving at government speed. It's just the way we move, the way we work. Things go quickly, go slowly. There have been complicated questions raised in art. Who owns the output? If the AI model was trained on 10,000 paintings, where does that inspiration stop and the copying begins? What does it mean in your world in terms of maps, imagery, visualizations, all that data that's being used to train the AI? Who owns the output? I don't think we know. I don't think nobody knows right now. There was some drama around music. It's another area that's being heavily litigated. This song by Drake went extremely viral. Some people even liked it better than the real Drake music. So it's mind blowing, and that's all being litigated and still talked about and decided. And again, nobody knows. We haven't answered these questions. We had the writers' crisis back in 2023 when Hollywood writers went on strike, and one of their major demands was guardrails around AI. We still have not resolved that. Those concerns have not gone away. AI can generate a script. It can rewrite someone else's idea. Is that theft? Is that collaboration? Who owns it? Who makes the money off of it? A public service angle or twist on that one might be, an AI can draft policy memos, RFP language, executive summaries. But are we allowed to use it in government? Or is that proprietary copyrighted data? Did we just expose the agency to risk by using that data? It's all kind of unknown. Reality, this one's really messy and really weird. And I bet you've all seen examples of really messy, really weird stuff. Taylor Swift had a deep fake scandal that went wildly viral and caused Congress to hold congressional hearings. So that was an example of government moving pretty quickly. Things have gone off the rail when that happens. There were some deep fake robocalls that happened on behalf of Biden, I think, in New Hampshire. And the FCC got involved and started issuing bans against AI robocalls. They started fining the company that did it. I mean, there's drama on top of drama here. This one is the one that bugs me the most, this kind of stuff. There's a ton of AI slop out there, is what they call it right now. And it's where the AI is training the AI on AI created data. And it's just, ugh. And this one's a great example. This is a real newspaper article. I did double check it. I think it's real. You can see down here, this is the ChatGPT prompt that made it into the printed version of the newspaper. If you want, I can create an even fancier front page stuff. It's so gross. It's slop. Personally, I was at my son's high school production of The Crucible last week, and he's a senior, so I've been to lots of his shows. And at the beginning of every one of his show, they always give you the don't take any pictures or get out your phone speech. This time, they did a pre-recorded speech, and it was the Jesuit school priest coming on saying, if your phone rings, we'll assume it's the devil calling. It was really clever, Crucible themed, really funny. But I knew within 30 seconds that it was written by ChatGPT. I just had an ear for it. I could hear it. And I didn't love it. Like, it took away from the authenticity of what would have been fun because I can spot it so well. And I'm just seeing it so much. It's showing up in LinkedIn posts, product descriptions. Pinterest has tons of it. I don't even use Pinterest anymore because it's so full of it. And it's rubbing me the wrong way. Like, it's not a good thing. I'm seeing it in not good ways. A lot of times I don't even notice it. I find that I personally use it for writing, and I'm real tuned, and I can spot it in the written word or in something I'm hearing very, very, very well. I've also found I'm bad at spotting it visually. I'm pretty bad at it. And the way I've learned that is through my children. They're constantly teaching me. We talk on text these days. That's how my children talk to me, is over text. We send each other things. And one of them said in the family chat, Mom, why are you sending us this? This is so obviously AI. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, it is. I didn't see it. I don't have the same eye for it visually that I do when I'm hearing it. That has made me think a lot. So there's just a lot to absorb there in that space, is what I'll say on that. Maybe that could be something that you take out into the breakouts and talk about that too, if you're seeing a lot of that garbage out there too. This is one I don't feel like I can talk about too much, and that is the impact on the environment. I know that my kids, once again, are very focused on this. They will see me pick up my phone and use ChatGPT to answer a question, and they'll say, Mom, why are you doing that? Don't you know that's bad for the environment? You could have just Googled that. And they've said it to me so many times that I've really started to pay more attention to when I'm using it and how I'm using it, because there's a lot of data going into trying to understand the environmental impact of AI. And this is an image, it's from a reputable source, but I don't really, it's an area that I am interested in and paying attention to. So these are my last couple of things that I want to leave you with. This is some of the stuff people are saying. This goes back to 2025 is when people are kind of starting to say, maybe we've gone too far, maybe we need to pause again. And it's coming from CEOs who are building the technologies, from researchers who invented it, in some cases from government agencies and national security analysts. They're saying some pretty disturbing, alarming stuff that we really need to get a handle on this. I flip back and show your attention to that, some of that language. This poses a profound risk to society. And, it remains to be seen how quickly we'll move and how quickly we'll rise to the challenge. But I think it's a really fun time to be in the public sector. I'm going to flip through a section real quick here and just say, I believe in public service. And I think that government has done this before. We have regulated cars. We've regulated planes. This is a picture of the FAA. We've regulated pharmaceuticals, telecom, nuclear energy, financial systems. We know how to do this. We rise to the challenge. Government doesn't just control the risks, it can help build the future. And I truly believe the story will be the same this time, but I think it's a really exciting time to be in public service and to be involved in AI and to be doing what we do. So Megan, that's kind of the end of my prepared remarks. So I will pause there. Hopefully the timing worked out well for you.
No, I think it's great. We have one question in the chat, and there's some folks that are answering it, but it's about what's the environmental impact, and is that because of the big data centers or for something else?
I think it is. I think a lot of it's water. What I'm hearing is water is a big thing. It takes a lot of water to cool these data centers. Um, I'm seeing some headlines about different states, depending on which states are attracting those big data centers. Their energy bills for regular consumers are going up. It's all connected and all related. And I think some of it remains to be seen. I'm not an expert in this area. I'm really my husband's nickname, my husband was on the board of Hoosier Environmental Council, so he's very environmentally conscious. His nickname for me is Big Oil because he had to teach me to recycle and he had to teach me to be a better human being. But we have raised three very socially conscious children, and they are all over me about my AI use and am I being responsible with it. So this is an area I am still learning and evolving my thoughts.
I have a question for you, and then if anybody else has questions, please feel free to raise your hand. I'm curious because of your work with government, and what is it that companies are doing, and consulting firms, I guess, in particular, because we hire them for all sorts of things. Um, how do I know as a government that the information that I'm supporting, that you're helping us with, is staying secure? And what do you, so because that's one of the fears, I think, is if you put it out there, it's out there and you can't get it back. How are companies keeping government things secure?
I think it's one of the main fears that I have, main concerns that I have seen in the clients that I work with, and it's why they're choosing to do pilots with us in particular, and they're asking all those right questions, and they're not just taking, they're drilling down and asking us what we're doing about that. What we've done in my organization is we don't allow anybody in our organization on their work computers to use ChatGPT, the public version. It's blocked. We don't allow you to use it. One, we have a professional paid account that doesn't commingle anything we do in that business account with anything happening anywhere else. But then we go a step further and we developed our own private AI model where we're then showing, we're basically showing our homework to state agencies to say, this is what we're doing, this is where we're doing it. Not only will we not use your data in our daily life to answer an email to you that might put you at risk, we're forced to use a private model there. But if you're willing to trust us with some of your information, you want to start testing AI, we've built a playground where you can use it that is all self-contained. And I think people are getting really smart about asking the right questions and not just trusting that people aren't doing it, because we're human. People are human. They make mistakes. That's why we had to say it's literally blocked on your computer, because it's easy to log into the wrong account. It's easy to make a mistake. We're human. But I would say it's one of the number one concerns we've heard as we've started consulting with municipalities and state governments.
There's some good conversation in the chat. Angie, do you want to add something? Angela, are you with us? I can't hear you.
Apologize. So this may be a little bit of a naive question, but I'm going to go for it. So you talked about it's narrow intelligence. I forgot the words you used. At a point, it will be able to be more, think more broadly and connect more things and be more like human intelligence. And then it gets to superhuman intelligence. Well, if humans are training the AI and it gets to be as intelligent at us, but then somehow we start dropping out of the picture because it's smarter than us, does that mean that it will not have those inputs of creativity that a human brings, and that the AI will level off at some point because it doesn't have the human input feeding it? Is that logical, or is there a better explanation as to why that won't happen?
I don't think that they think they can block that from happening. I think it's a big unknown, and that's a lot of the reason I think people are calling for more guardrails, more regulation, more oversight, because it's such an unknown. When you create something that is smarter than any human on the planet, where does it go? What does it do? And what risk have we opened ourselves up to? It's hard to even fathom. Um, I skipped over some slides, but that was an area that I have spent a fair amount of time like trying to understand, like, what are we afraid of? What does that mean? I don't believe that Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to show up as the Terminator and that's going to be the end of us all. That's not what we're talking about. What are we talking about here? And those are very real ongoing conversations that I think you will see play out publicly in the news more and more and more.
So is anyone suggesting that there's not much to worry about because if it gets to a certain level and there's no more human input, it's not going to develop further? Or that's not an argument? People are really more concerned than that.
I think my take is people are way more concerned than that.
Okay.
No one that is really in
Okay.
the industry is saying that. I think they're
Okay.
saying the opposite.
Thank you.
Sure.
At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Jenna. And Jenna's going to do a little intro to our breakout rooms. Rachel, thank you so much. I have a feeling we're going to continue to talk about this in our breakout rooms, and I think I've written down a bunch of stuff I'm going to Google later, so I know what it means.
For sure. Thank you, Rachel. That was really enlightening and very fascinating. I appreciate all the time you put into arguing with your chat to get here. So we're going to move everybody to breakout rooms. I think it looks like we have about 45 people. We're going to try and keep the rooms small so that we can have discussion. We have some prepped questions to talk about. We're going to spend probably about 15 minutes in the breakout rooms, maybe quick intros, and then we'll get to the discussion topics. I'm going to put a link in the chat to some Google Docs that have, or do we want to do that, ladies? Or do we want just the co-chairs to take notes? What are y'all thinking? Have everybody take notes?
I don't see a reason with opening it up.
Yeah, I've got it open already, so
I do too.
permission should be good.
Okay. So Emily is going to push the magic button so that we can all be randomly assigned to breakout rooms. There'll be, hopefully, if we do it right, there'll be a GeoWomen co-chair in your room to help facilitate the discussion, and we need note takers. So please volunteer to take some notes so that we can come back and talk about it. After that 15 minutes, we'll come back and then we'll go around to each of the groups and you can give kind of a synopsis. One person can give a synopsis of what was discussed. All right, Emily, I think we're ready. Should I put the link to the Google Doc in?
Yeah, I can drop the link in.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that probably seemed so short.
It did. Going by really, really fast. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so glad to see your faces.
I can put the notes up if you'd like.
Always flies by.
Really fast. We never get enough time, for at least not in my opinion. Emily, how many rooms did we end up with?
So we had 7, and I know one of them, it looked like people were kind of in and out. Room 5 was a little touch and go from my perspective, but
All right.
yeah, I'll throw the notes up and we can take a look.
Yeah, I don't know how well the notes worked out. I know I was only good for about half of it. So maybe, yeah, I guess I was wondering, I really like seeing everybody's faces. Maybe we don't share the notes, but I'll call on each group and someone can give a summary and then we can have a little bit of a discussion. So I'll kick it off, and I'll apologize now because I now realize that I put notes in the wrong page. So we had a we had a small group. I hope all of you did too. There are about four of us in there that were able to chat a little bit. A pretty wide variety of how we use AI. And policy. Almost every organization, all of the organizations that of the people that we talked to in our group had policy. A lot of it was around internal use only, so it was an intranet bot. Um, and a lot of uses around Python and coding tools. A really interesting class, and I don't know if it made it to the full group chat, but I would ask Tia to put it in the full group chat if it didn't. Kind of an intro course to AI, not geospatial specific, but a good place to start if you're unsure. Um, I would invite anybody that was in my room, if I missed anything, to share. All right, I guess I did okay. So how about we go to group one, because I was in group two. Do we have a volunteer from group one?
I think that might be meeting room one. So
Yeah.
that's my group. So I was in the room with Robin, Heidi, and Justin. And again, please chime in. Very interesting. Pima County, DOT, Oregon, and Massachusetts, and a lot of variety in how AI is used. Um, Robin had mentioned she uses it really quite intensively with her work, looking at statutes and case law and helping her write ordinances. Seems like it's very integrated with her work. Heidi's using it to sort through those deep email chains when she comes back from vacation so she can figure out
Oh,
what's what. That's smart. I mean, I got to do that.
yeah.
And of course, meeting summaries. Justin from Massachusetts noted that they are not allowed, which was interesting. They are not allowed, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, to be using it. But of course, he's obviously here today and looking how it can be used in GIS. But they guess to get their hands slapped. So it was a very interesting mix and interest in using. I guess Copilot is something I know in my organizations and others that they're kind of having us use if we're big Microsoft shops. But Perplexity was also something else that was mentioned, and restrictions on what can be put into, as mentioned before by our speaker, in the government agencies. And we didn't have a whole lot of time, but it was a good group with lots of different approaches.
Nice. Thank you, Angela. All right, let's go to group three, meeting room three. Do we have a volunteer from that group to report out?
Oh, that was my group.
Excellent.
Um,
Did you just put it in the chat and you're going to move on?
no, I used AI to synthesize all of our notes. And I put it in the chat, the key takeaways. So we had mostly government in our group, and I think we see a common theme. Probably most everyone probably could somewhat agree with this, is that most policies were like shut down, don't use until they figured out how they wanted to proceed and how they wanted to create a policy. And then some were more open to using AI. And we have a sneaking suspicion that smaller governments, local governments probably don't have a policy yet and probably need a lot of assistance there. Um, and so it could be a way for us as NISJIC to kind of help create geospatial policy. And then AI policy, at least. And then some of the tools we're using were Perplexity, that's allowed in state government in Montana, ChatGPT, Copilot. And then we're talking about some of the first tools we saw, like the little update your slide in PowerPoint, and Canva has some fun tools. And then Rachel was in our group, so we were really lucky. And she let us know that there's this newsletter called Neuron. So that's another maybe tool for everybody to utilize. And she gets a lot of great information from there.
Oh, that sounds super interesting. I want to check that out. Thank you, Erin. All right, meeting group four, room four.
That was my chat room. I was in that chat room,
Awesome.
breakout room. Yeah. And so we had, I think mostly public sector people and aspiring public sector people. So it's, a mix. It's blocked on state computers in Wisconsin. In New Jersey, they have an AI assistant just for state agencies. their Office of Information Technology has full access. And in Iowa, limited users have access to Copilot. We agreed that it's really good for writing code. It's really good for, like we're doing in the GMA, tailoring a message to different, audiences, and especially to get, to build action or get action going from your readers. As far as policy, like in the BLM, well, federal government in general, as you know, there's like a big push to build things using AI. But I can tell you from my FOIA tool that we are very much building the plane as we fly it, because like the processes that we've been going through to get our tool approved to be in the development phase is like, hang on, let's check on that. Like they don't even know what the policy is. So it's been interesting for me. And one thing that I am curious to hear Rachel's opinion on, if we have time, is the AI bubble that I keep hearing more and more about every day. So, but yeah, it was a good discussion, a lot of skepticism, a lot of hesitancy.
Yeah, I think that's where we're all at a little bit, right? Okay, so we're gonna race on because we've got 5 minutes. So you were group 4, Karen, so we're on to 5. Is that right? Cool. So somebody from group 5?
Hey, this is Julia. I'm
Hi,
from
Julia.
group 5.
That's
We
great.
had a little bit of trouble all getting together. I was getting my lunch, other people are driving, and just how it is in the world around this time of day. We had very mixed policies, kind of. It was interesting. Jenna mentioned she works for a county and they have absolutely no policies. Everybody can use what they want to, which is amazing because that's usually very the opposite to a private company where there's more openness in jurisdiction. It's always usually with new things, it's taking a little bit slower. So that was amazing and we were all very impressed. Then we also had that someone, not Justin, sorry. Justin mentioned that she wants to use it for imagery, and she just started talking about it, and then we were pulled back into this group. And then also we had Catherine, and I think Catherine, and she mentioned that they want to looking into it for fire prevention, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you. That's great. Okay, zooming right along, we'll go to group 6.
I think that was me, and I volunteered to read it out. But Megan, please yell at me if we weren't group 6.
Nope, you're good. Thanks for volunteering, Sage.
Yeah. I'll go quick. We had a really good smattering of different industries, and it basically ranged from you're allowed to use it on your own to you're not allowed to use it at all. At a state level, we have to ask for it for very particular tasks. From the nonprofit and more local side, there are some guidelines to what you can use and what kind of development and contractors can use of it. And the only two that were really mentioned that people are using is ChatGPT and Copilot.
Awesome. Thank you, Sage. And last but not least, group 7.
Okay, I'll jump on. It was Caitlin, Susan, myself, and Liz. And the government entities went from, yes, we have policies that lock most things down and you have to get approval for a case-by-case basis, which takes so long that most of us haven't had time to do that yet, to one of us saying, don't ask, don't tell. So, but yeah. So, and then the tools that you utilize, you will notice I put a long, whether you're at work or at home on your own network using your own computer and not related to work, so I don't have to follow their guidelines, ampersand on that one. So New York uses like Notebook LM, AI Pro, and is vetting Esri's AI tools. In Arizona, again, things are locked down, but when I'm not using their stuff, I like to use Perplexity for researching and coding, and then Scribe for auto documentation is a lifesaver. And then Georgia can't find anything they can't use. So I was drooling for Susan's, and Missouri, Caitlin wasn't quite sure what's locked down. And we didn't even have time to get to the amazing workflows that have been improved.
Thank you, Shay. I wish we had more time with everyone. I think we could probably do this for a long time and talk about how everybody's using it and learn a ton. I'm going to go to Rachel. Do you want to comment on the AI bubble in our last minute, and then we can show our appreciation?
I think it's real. I think it's tied to the economy. I think there's kind of a reckoning that's going on right now. This money's being spent on the data centers and the research and building the models. There's a lot of concern about it. I'm following it closely. I think it's real. I think it's real risk. And I've noticed from a product perspective, like I said, everybody slapped that AI enabled on every product that existed. And sometimes we would look at, behind the scenes, it meant nothing. So that is an indication of a bubble when people are just putting AI enabled on products that doesn't really mean anything.
Do that. Yeah, for sure.
I heard this. Can I say something terrifying? This morning on public radio, I heard that the hot Christmas present is an AI teddy bear that will talk to your children. And the people were like, my God, do not buy that. But it was like, why would you buy that for your kid? Oh my God.
Well, huge kudos to you, Rachel. Your presentation was fantastic, and I think it's a great place for us to start the conversation. I'm sure we need to continue and maybe have part two. And thank you to everyone who was able to join us today. We did record, so this will be available to rewatch or to send to your friends. And just thanks a lot. I think the next GeoWomen event is going to be our stand-up on the first Friday of December, so please join us for that as well. Thanks so much.